So I'll start today's session, and it will be about 45 minutes or so, depending on how many questions you have. And what I'll be covering will encompass Web of Science platform, Publons, as well as insights. Okay. Again, a reminder, please remember to mute all your lines. And if you have any questions, just drop them into the chat box. Okay. And we will start. So, for collaborators, co-authors, do all of you think that having a co-author would benefit your paper? I think most of you would say yes, some say no. Okay, probably you have to identify the right collaborators. Am I right? Okay, so we at Web of Science Group, we have done a white paper on the impact of having multiple authors within one paper, and we found that if you have international collaborators, okay, you do get increase in citation impact for your papers. Okay, one of the main reasons could be because your international co-authors have a reach internationally. So for you, you are confined to probably your domestic network. But with your international collaborators, you are also able to tap on their international network for readership for your article. So that is one reason for having collaborators. But of course, when you identify collaborators, you want to make sure that these researchers are of good quality and of good impact. And also, you want to make sure that you are showcasing yourself as a good collaborator so that they would say yes to a partnership. Okay? So hopefully after today's session, you will be able to have a clearer picture of how you can use these tools to strategize on your research output. So the first way of identifying collaborators using our tools is through the Web of Science platform itself. Okay? And there are two functionalities within Web of Science that you can utilize. The first functionality is the function called Analyze Results. And this particular feature allows you to analyze a set of papers in a specific topic, for example. So if you are, for example, looking for collaborators in your own research area, you might be going into Web of Science to type a search on your topic. And with that search, you identify a set of papers. From this set of papers, you can click on Analyze Results, and you will be able to see who are the organizations that are publishing a lot in this topic. You're also able to identify the country that publishes a lot in this topic. Okay? So the Analyze Results function can be used to help you this way. Now, the second method or second functionality on Web of Science is the Create a Citation Report function. Okay. When you look for a collaborator, most of the time it'll be easier if your potential collaborator kind of knows who you are and what kind of research you have been doing. So if you think about using USM papers, for example, University Science Malaysia papers, you search for University Science Malaysia papers and find out who is citing USM papers. Once you identify who are citing your papers, these are your potential pool of collaborators because they already read your work. That's why they have cited you. Okay, so this gives you a better potential of receiving a yes for collaboration. Okay, so I'm going to just share my screen now so that I can show you how you can use Web of Science. Okay. So earlier on, I've already showed you how you can access Web of Science via the Open Athens via your library's website. Okay. So once you're in the Web of Science, if you want to start looking for a topic, you can do a keyword search. So let's say, for example, coronavirus And you can also limit this based on time spent. Most of the time, if you want to find a collaborator, you want to make sure that this collaborator is still publishing. Okay, so maybe you want to limit the time frame to say 10 years or so. Okay, and do a search. So assuming that I'm doing a research on coronavirus, okay, who is publishing in the past 10 years? There will be about 7,000 plus papers. Okay. Please pardon the slowness in Web of Science because I think there's something happening at the background at the moment and we're investigating. Okay? But this is not the norm, right? So there's 8,000 papers currently on coronavirus from 2010 to 2020. So imagine that this is your research topic. Click on Analyze Results. Okay. So what you're doing is taking these 8,000 papers and building some kind of report around these 8,000 papers. Okay. From here, you will be able to see which countries are publishing a lot in coronavirus. Okay, as well as the organizations. So for this example, I will show you the organizations. So the University of Hong Kong is publishing a lot in coronavirus topic at the moment. So they could be your potential pool of collaborators. From here, just click on View Records. And this will take you to the 279 University of Hong Kong papers publishing in coronavirus. And if there's a specific paper that attracts you and very closely related to what you're doing now, okay, if there is an author communication email on the paper itself, on the record, you will be able to contact that paper's authors. Okay. So let's say, for example, this particular one, okay, the efficacy of face masks. Okay. So if you have their email address here, you can then contact the corresponding author to discuss. Okay. So this is method one, which is identifying through a topic search in Web of Science. The second method is to identify based on who is citing USM papers. So to do so, what you do is go back into the home page, the front page, and do a search for USM papers only. Okay. So to identify University Science Malaysia papers, okay, you use the field called Organization Enhance. So this is a field that you use to unify all the variation in names for USM papers, okay, into one, so that we can see a consolidated number. Okay. If you're not sure what name USM papers are filed under, you can click on Select Available Organizations. Search for Science Malaysia. Okay. So you can see here, University Science Malaysia is the unified name. And if you want to see all the variants under USM, click on D. Okay. And these will be all the variations. And because now you have access to Web of Science, if anyone from the library is on the line, if you happen to speak with the research office or yourself, you can check the variants. If any of these don't belong to USM, let us know and we can remove it. If any of the variants are missing, okay, let us know and we can put this in. Right? But for the rest of the users on the line, you can just click Add to this top layer, which is the organization name, and click OK here. And this would put University Science Malaysia into the search box. Okay. So from here, you can now remember that the unified name is under University with an I, Science Malaysia. So you don't have to always go back here to select again. You can just type in University Science Malaysia. So I will change this to maybe past 20 years, so 2000 to 2020. Okay. So you can set the time frame as for what you prefer and do a search. So from the year 2000 to date, we can have a look at how many papers USM has in Web of Science. In the meantime, let me see. Okay, so from year 2000 till date, you have 34,000 papers. All right. Now, the functionality I want to use is the citation report function. But the citation report function has a maximum size of 1,000 records. So what you need to do is reduce this to, say, 10,000 papers. So to do so, probably I will limit it to the 5 years publication and refine. Okay. So in the past 5 years, you still have quite a big number, 12,000 papers. You might want to then limit again to maybe 4 years. And you still have this number. Okay, remove this one, refine. Okay, so refining it by the number of years is one method. Okay, refining it by subject area is another. Okay, so it depends. If you want to find specifically to your research area, you can choose your research area from here under the Web of Science categories. Okay, but if you just want to look at based on number of years, we will then try and limit this to within 10,000 records so that you can have a look. Okay, so now we have about 6,000 papers here, and we can create a citation report for these 6,400 papers. So these 6,400 papers have been cited 13,529 times, and the number of articles that have cited you is about 10,000 without self-citation. This is author self-citation. So this is your pool of potential collaboration because they have already cited USM's work. So from here, you can click on Analyze again to analyze these 10,000 plus papers. Okay. So these 10,000 plus papers can come from these various organizations. Okay. And if there's a specific subject category that you want to limit it to, you can limit it before we did this, or you can limit it now. Okay. Okay, so here under Web of Science categories, you can limit it to the specific subject area you're in, so that you can see who has been citing the past 3 years papers from USM. Okay, so these are the categories. So say, for example, environmental sciences. You can then click through to see these 837 environmental sciences papers and look for a specific paper that is close to your topic, and you will then be able to contact the corresponding author from there. Okay. I will address some questions here. Can we also search by one of the variant name instead of by University Science Malaysia? Yes, it's possible, but do take note that some of the variants might only have 1 or 2 papers in there, because it's based on variation in names, but not by department or faculty, for example. Okay, so the naming convention might be all different. Okay, is it possible to do self-editing if the name of organization is wrong? No. So the organization name will have to be corrected through us. Okay, so if the organization enhanced name has already been fixed, it will be there. If you want to change it to something else, you have to let us know. Okay, and the self-edit, there's no self-editing function to correct the affiliation of the paper itself. Okay, because we do not have the right to change that content, because that is a publisher's content. Okay. So I've showed you these 2 methods of identifying potential collaborators. Okay. The next thing that I want to advise all of you to do is, because now that you have access to Web of Science for the next month, okay, try and claim your record in Web of Science. So meaning, if you have already published in a paper that is indexed in Web of Science, claim those papers under your name. Okay, so how do you do that? Under Web of Science itself, okay, there is this author search function. Okay. Under author search here, type in your name, last name and first name, and you can also include other alternative names that you have published as. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. Garfield. Okay, and I'll find. So the algorithm will start grouping the papers together. Okay, and if you look at this one, for example, Emily Garfield, you check, yes, I'm from New York. Okay, I have published, probably about 11 papers since 1976. And these are the journals that I published in. Okay, have a quick preview of what are these articles. Yeah, okay, this is me. Then I'll click into this link. Okay, and you can see that there's a place for you to claim this record. All right, so you can claim this record for yourself, okay, by clicking on this link and creating your Publons profile. So Publons is a public profile that is visible to international authors and researchers. So if you are able to claim all your records properly from Web of Science and create your own Publons profile, international researchers who are looking at who are you, why are you asking me to collaborate with you? Okay? International collaborators will be able to check who you are based on your record on Publons. Okay? So you can just click claim this record on Publons and create a profile for yourself, okay, through this registration window. Alternatively, if you have already got a Publons profile, just click sign in, and these 11 papers will be matched with your Publons profile. Right? If you have an ORCID ID, you can also connect your ORCID ID so that we can pull all your records into Publons. Now, the difference between Publons and other profile hosts like ResearchGate and so on, the difference is that on Publons, we are also able to track your peer review work. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example. So here I haven't logged in yet. So imagine I am an international researcher looking to see who you are. So I'll browse for the institution. So who is University Science Malaysia? Okay, I'll check University Science Malaysia. So you have 3,429 researchers now who already have a Publons profile. Okay, click on this and view the researchers. So I'm going to take an example, Prof. Ramaya. Okay, so he has 242 publications, cited a total of 3,000 over times in Web of Science, and he has reviewed for 297 documents. Okay, so imagine after you have claimed your profile here, this is Web of Science. Once you have claimed it, your Publons profile will be populated with a unique researcher ID. So the good thing is that with this unique researcher ID, if your university wants to know how many papers you have in Web of Science, you just give them this Web of Science researcher ID, they'll be able to find it. Okay. The good thing about a profile like this on Publons is that there's a metrics function. They'll be able to see how frequently you have published papers before. So if you have asked somebody to collaborate with you, they'll be looking at, so how many papers have you published? What's your experience? What's the type of citations that you get for your papers and so on? Okay. And if you are doing peer review work, journals will be looking at how frequent you do reviews and what's your score for reviewing. Okay. So I'll address some questions here. How to edit our organizations before we claim our record. Okay, so once you have created or claimed, so for example here, if you click claim and you do a registration on Publons and you log in, okay, so let's say I'm logging in for my own account now. Okay. I can go to this private dashboard, and from here I can put in all my affiliations. So all my previous affiliations can be included here. Okay. But the organizations within Web of Science here will not be able to change because it follows the papers. Okay. If we accidentally created two accounts under the same name in Publons, how do we delete one of them? Okay, you have to write an email to us. So okay, you can write an email to info@publons.com and request for your duplicate to be either merged together into one or removed. Okay. In a case you have people with same name and initials with you, how do you claim your papers? Yeah, so this will take into consideration. So let's say, for example, back to the search results. If there are multiple records here, you can see there's similar abbreviations. So it then depends on which affiliation you're from. Okay, so you can limit this based on organization and based on subject areas before you find the final one. Okay. What is one of the results shown is not my published papers? Yes, so if the papers show that one of them is not your paper, okay, you can either claim the paper one by one, or okay, or you can just claim the records first and delete it later on. Okay. If USM doesn't subscribe to WAS, can we manage our papers in Publons? Yes. So if at the end of 1 month, if let's say USM doesn't subscribe to Web of Science, you can still claim your papers from Publons from here. So on your private dashboard under My Record Publications, okay, here there is an import publications function. So the email address that you use to put into Publons, you can put in multiple emails and multiple affiliations. And try to put the emails that you always correspond with for your papers as well as the affiliations. Okay, we will use this information to search for your Web of Science documents through the Publons profile here. Okay, so we will search, and if we found some similar possible documents that are yours, a list will appear here, and you can select your documents and add it to your profile. Okay. How do I record of previous papers that I have reviewed prior to Publons? Okay, so if you want to add reviews that you've previously done, I believe you would have kept some of the thank you emails from the journals. Okay, so using your thank you emails as well as the article name that you have reviewed for and the journal, you can put this into peer reviews, add a review. Okay, so when you click add a review, okay, you are able to put in the journal name, the date you performed the review, the article, and we will do a verification with the journal. Okay. Is researcher ID different from Web of Science researcher ID? So researcher ID has been sunset, meaning that we have migrated all researcher IDs into Publons, and now the new ID is called Web of Science researcher ID. Okay. If you have any issues with claiming your paper after today, we can address this on a case-by-case basis because we have limited time today. So it will be great if you can drop me an email and then we can work on your case. All right. Do the reviewed papers need to be in JCR? No. So the reviewed papers can be from any journals. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Web of Science journal. Okay. Okay. How do you claim the papers one by one? So let's say, for example, you can search for your paper on Web of Science first using DOI or the article title. Okay. And once you find the article, there will be an option for you to say claim this paper. Okay, I'm going to try and quickly retrieve one paper for you to see. So let's say this is this paper. Okay. Yes, you can add non-ISI papers into your Publons account. No problem. Okay, so there is an export function where you can claim this particular paper to Publons. Okay, and you choose this one, claim on Publons. Okay, so that's how you add one paper at a time into your Publons account, or alternatively, under the publications here on Publons, okay, there is a way for you to put in the DOI of the article. Okay. Is there a function under Web of Science where all our papers will be automatically added in, just like how the Google Scholar does? So earlier on, you have to use the author search function so that we are able to group all these papers together. So if you use the author search function, you will be able to add multiple papers at one go. Okay. So now I will continue on with the other part, okay, and that is for this analytical tool called Insights. So Insights can be used for you to evaluate your collaborators before partnering with them, or for you to select suitable collaborators. Now, Insights is an analytical tool that pulls data from Web of Science to make some analysis. Okay? And on the screen here, you have some key metrics that we use in Insights to measure your collaborators based on the productivity of that person, quality of their output, impact, performance, and collaboration. What I'll be showing you is just a small part of Insights, okay? But you can do many, many things using this database. Okay? Hopefully, I will have some time to show you in detail everything that you need to know. Right? So to access Insights, you will need to have an account registered. So meaning to say, once you have logged in via OpenAthens, okay, you need to go to insights.clarivate.com and do a registration. Okay? Once you have registered for your own ID and password for Insights, you will then be able to start using this database. Okay? So for Insights, there is a need for registration. So it is not as easy as going into the Web of Science. Okay, but upon entering OpenAthens, you go to insights.clarivate.com. You will still need to choose your OpenAthens and then do a registration for Insights by yourself. Okay, so you will be able to see that you are accessing this from a subscribed institution. Then you do a registration, and with the ID and password, you can start using Insights. Okay, if you're still having issues, just reach out to me, and we can work on that on a case-by-case basis. Okay, so once you have logged into Insights, okay, today I will focus only on identifying collaborators. Okay, so collaborators meaning which institutions can I partner with in my area of research. So there are many explorers here. So for today, I will focus on the Organizations Explorer. So if you click on Organizations, what I want to pull out is all the organizations in a specific research area. Okay. So from this page here, this filter here, okay, this is the most important part of Insights because you will need to know how to filter. So the first thing is make sure that you are still on Insights dataset with Emerging Sources Citation Index. So you're including the Emerging Sources Citation Index journals content. And you can adjust the time period for yourself. Okay, so let's say I want collaborators in the past 10 years. Okay. And I want my research area. So the research output that you want to look for has to be your own research area. So let's say, for example, I am in food science. Okay. And choose food science and technology. Okay. And maybe I want to look for a collaborator in a specific country. Then under the attributes, I want to find organizations from China and maybe Indonesia. Okay, so you can choose any country that you want and you update. So what this does is the system is pulling out China and Indonesia institutions that publish in food science and technology. Okay? So from here, you can see all these institutions, and this is ranked based on output, meaning how many publications have they done. So these 3,370 Web of Science documents are the food science and technology papers that Jiangnan University publishes. Okay? And there's two other metrics or indicators that you want to consider when you're evaluating a collaborator. The first one is CNCI, which is Category Normalized Citation Impact. This is a normalized metric based on the field. So under the field of food science and technology, Jiangnan University's papers are performing above average. Okay? World average would be 1.0. Anything above 1.0 is above world average. Anything below 1 is below average. So when you identify a collaborator, you want to make sure that they are already publishing impactful papers. Okay? The next thing is look at the percentage international collaboration. If you do not see these metrics by default, click on this toggle button. Okay? You can browse the indicators and choose the specific one. Okay? So out of all these institutions, the top 10, okay, they are publishing a lot in food science and technology. Okay? You can see that they are performing above world average in terms of their citation impact. Okay? And most importantly, from here, you then choose the one that is the highest percentage in international collaboration. Because the higher the percentage, the higher is the potential that they say, okay, I will partner with an international partner. Okay? If it's very low, it means that they are not very open to international collaboration. Right? So I'm going to address some questions here. Does this mean that authors of papers I have reviewed will also possibly ID me as one of the reviewers? Yes, possibly. Yes, so they will be able to see. No, so it depends whether there is a single blind and a double blind, right? So depending on the peer review rules that you have set, or the journal has set, we will not show which article you have reviewed for. Okay, so the public profile will not show the article that you have reviewed for, but it will show the journal that you have reviewed for. I hope that's what you are trying to ask. Okay. If the university has no longer subscription to Insights, then how can I browse my accounts on Insights when necessary? Okay, so earlier on, Publons is actually free. Publons. Okay, this is the platform that you use to create your profile for yourself. This is free. This has still be accessed after the trial. Insights, which is this particular tool that you use to find collaborators, this you cannot use after the trial if the university does not subscribe. Okay. Can I get the information at faculty or school level? Okay, so faculty or school level, you will need to have an additional add-on function called My Organization. And this is where you will be able to structure all the papers from USM into specific faculty and department. By default, on Insights itself, on the Insights dataset, we will not have faculty or school information because we do not have your faculty or school information. All right? So the difference between, there's a question about the difference between Insights and Publons. So Insights is a tool that you use to analyze the Web of Science data. Okay? Publons is a profile database. So you create your own profile. It's like a Facebook. So Publons is like the Facebook for researchers. Insights is an analytical tool for you to make decisions on where to collaborate, who to collaborate with. Okay? So I've already showed you how to identify the individual universities, okay, based on a specific research area. Right? If you want to go in to see who is the author, just click on the numbers here, which is the document, and you click the link and go into Web of Science to see their contact details. Okay? Now, this is how you identify collaborators. As we have a little bit of time left, I wanted to just give you an insight into maybe more information around Malaysia output for research. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the first page. So if you're keen to see more about Malaysia's output, okay, you can start from looking at locations. Okay, and maybe you want to see in the past 10 years or so, and you want to include with ESCI. Okay. And this time, the location, I want to include ASEAN countries. Okay, so let's see how Malaysia is doing respective to other ASEAN countries. It results. Okay. So in terms of output, Web of Science document, Malaysia is number 1. Okay. Category normalized citation impact, about world average. Okay. And if you want to see who is contributing to this 220,000 papers, and click on this small arrow here. In this drop down, choose associated organization. Okay. And from here, you refocus, and this will take you to the organizations in Malaysia. So which means to say all the universities in Malaysia here. Okay. And if you want to limit it by organization type, then just choose academic. Okay, and update. Right. So here you see USM is number 2. Okay, and you have 27,000 papers in the past 10 years, and you can see how you're doing against the other universities in Malaysia. The other thing that you can do with insights is you can have a look at, say, for example, UKM. Who are they collaborating with? What is the research areas strengths that they have? Which journals are they publishing in? All right. You might also be interested to know who is funding their research. So these are just some of the additional features and functionalities you can use to gain some insight into other universities around the region or even domestically. Okay. All right. So this is all I will be able to show you for now. Okay. Because if I show you any more, it might get a little bit complicated. But if you want more information on how to use insights in detail, there is always this help function here. Okay. Or there is a lib guide. So I'm going to show, copy this link to you. So we have a training page that you can refer to. Okay. And from here, you can then browse to look at insights, benchmarking, and analytics. Okay. And there will be use case guides. So these are step-by-step guides on how you can do departmental analysis, collaboration, institutional analysis. Okay. All these are available to guide you. Okay. So insights would be very useful to make strategic decisions on collaboration or even for your own university's research output. Okay. So I hope you found the 3 webinar sessions useful. Okay. So make use of these three databases, especially the trial that is open to you now for 1 month, which is the Web of Science Core Collection with Biosys and Medline, as well as Insights. Okay, try them out. Give your library your feedback on whether they should continue on with a subscription to these databases. Okay, and otherwise, do reach out to me if you have further questions that we were not able to address today. Okay, my email address, I think most of you would have, but I'll type it out again in the chat box. And wish all of you good luck, good health, and please stay safe. So see you next time. Thanks. And thank you to the library for organizing this as well. Thank you.